Charmaine Tweet, although Seiber now gets in close and has her on the ground. We'll see what she can do here. Again, Charmaine training with Chichi Gonzalez, and we saw in an earlier Hard Knocks event exactly how effective he is as a wrestler. We'll see what Charmaine's able to do with his coaching here, and it looks like she was attempting the arm bar, but Seiber blasting back through and getting that second arm back in.
Well, Seiber needs to remain busy on the ground, or the official will call them up, but you look at Charmaine Tweet, she just looks so much bigger than Adrienne Seiber.
Yeah, Seiber certainly in a smaller package in the weight class. Charmaine very lean and long, and is going to try and use those limbs to her advantage. But Seiber so far on top of Charmaine Tweet and keeping busy enough that the referee hasn't stood them up yet. But Charmaine trying to swing those legs up for a triangle and ducking under and passing now into side control Adrienne Seiber, and there's a knee to the ribs, Jeremy.
Yeah, and doing an excellent job of controlling. Here is Adrienne Seiber now putting some pressure down on the chin and face of Charmaine Tweet. And again, any little thing that you can do to disrupt your opponent's breathing as she moves into a mount now, anything you can do to disrupt the breathing can have vast effects throughout the rest of the fight.
Seiber continuing to stay in the mount, looking for a position, posturing up. There's a right hand. And again, has Charmaine Tweet down a right and a left this time going through. And Seiber doing a good job, Jeremy, of holding down the taller Tweet. And by staying in this position, by staying on the ground, she's going to be able to limit the damage that Charmaine can do with those long limbs.
And with only 2 minutes and 20 seconds remaining in round one, scheduled 3 5-minute rounds. And now some punches being thrown from the top by Seiber. And again, like you mentioned, doing enough to stay busy to make sure the official doesn't call him up. It looks like Charmaine is trying to sweep over, but Adrienne Seiber widens out her base and is able to stop that, and now gets to work again. A nice right hand landed to the face of Charmaine Tweet.
Well, and you got to think too, Jeremy, we talked about how the fact that Charmaine's longer and Adrienne's got kind of the same weight in a smaller package. At that point, maybe an advantage when you're looking at the sweep, because Charmaine's not got the same kind of momentum and being able to carry that through over top of Seiber. Now you can see her throwing the legs up and trying to catch Adrienne with the legs and maybe find herself a submission that way, or at least drive her off of her. But Seiber doing a good job, a nice elbow there to the face of Charmaine Tweet. And again, it's been ground and pound for the better part of 2 minutes now for Adrienne Seiber on Charmaine Tweet.
It's very difficult to get that sweep from Charmaine Tweet. She keeps reaching forward, keep reaching the legs up, but that's something that is seen in the gym on a regular basis. So you know that Adrienne Seiber will know that's coming, can feel the hips shifting, and will throw her weight forward, and that will prevent that sweep from happening. And now again, disrupting the breathing of Charmaine Tweet, trying to make it so that it has long-term effects going forward in the fight.
Adrienne Seiber still on top. The Chicago police officer, a veteran of 15 years, and said as a result, there's nobody in the cage that scares her. Jeremy said it's a little different when you're staring down somebody that there's a referee to stop you if it gets too violent, as opposed to being on the streets of Chicago, and they don't call them the mean streets of Chicago for nothing. And Adrienne Seiber giving a little Chicago justice here as she's dropping elbows and fists and hammer fists into the face of Charmaine Tweet. She's been on top for the better part now of 3.5 minutes and has done work on top of Charmaine Tweet.
Just short time remains now, and Charmaine still trying to sweep with this position, but a very high position by Adrienne Seiber, and I guess she heard the clapper and stopped for a second, but now only a short time and an attempt at an armbar here. Not going to be able to get it with such short time remaining, but a good dominating round by Adrienne Seiber.
The black trunks for Adrienne Seiber, and again, Tweet gonna maybe potentially stay at a distance, utilize that Muay Thai striking, and try and punish Adrienne Seiber anytime she tries to come inside. Again, strikes coming from Charmaine Tweet. Kicks to the legs and to the midsection. Doing a good job this round so far of keeping her at bay like she did early going in round number one. And at this point, Seiber's got to get inside of those very long limbs, and that's going to be tougher for her to do, Jeremy.
Yeah, it's definitely going to have to be a timing attack as she goes in, being able to time on the kicks or time on the striking and get inside, as we see right there. A good drive across the cage by Seiber. Now will look to take Charmaine Tweet down, knows that if she could take away that power base, that's going to be a good benefit for her. And a guillotine attempt, but it's not in very tight, and that is solved right there by Adrienne Seiber. Now she gets to work on the ground, and if she can be as dominant as she was in round one, in round two, it's going to be a very long round for Charmaine Tweet.
Yeah, Charmaine deciding to go with the guillotine attempt and pulling guard, Jeremy. I feel like every time it happens, we end up chastising the fighter for it. We've seen it several times in the Hard Knocks cage where someone will try and pull guard, secure the guillotine, and it ends up costing them because they put themselves in a negative position.
You find that with the guillotine choke, it's one of those things that is cyclical, like the foot stomp. The foot stomp found its way out of MMA and then recently has been making a comeback. The guillotine choke has been utilized for such a long time that every gym trains it every single day. So fighters are put in this choke, a deep choke, and asked to stay and hold on as we're just over 3 minutes remaining in round two. But they're asked to hold on to that position and be in that position for a long time, so they're used to it. They know how to defend it. They practice it every single day. So you're not going to catch fighters anymore. And the fact that fighters are still attempting it is it's not smart fighting.
Mark Aparicio standing them up despite the fact that Adrienne Seiber was landing punches from the top. Not enough action for our referee's taste. And now Charmaine Tweet coming forward with a little bit, knowing that she's got to get back in the judges' good graces. And a nice high kick there, but caught and driven through Adrienne Seiber with another takedown, and she's right back on top.
Well, again, you talked about her being in Chicago and fighting off those people that perhaps she's arresting. Although she does have the great equalizer and a sidearm, it's not necessarily the same. She does have those great big fights in her everyday life, whereas Charmaine Tweet not necessarily having those life and death battles every single day.
We mentioned Adrienne Seiber had fought in Bellator before, and in that Bellator fight, she had her orbital bone broken at the end of the second round, still made it to a decision, fought the entire third round with a broken orbital bone, so no questioning the toughness of Adrienne Seiber. And again, during here in round two, just like in round one, she's on top of Charmaine Tweet. She's landing punches. There's a knee, and that one seemed to cause her off, and it looks like, again, referee Mark Aparicio going to stand them up and send them to corners to start fighting again. So again, not enough action from Adrienne Seiber, but at the same time gets the points for the takedown, and then at that point she's on top for the dominant position. It's got to look good to a judge.
Well, and again, an excellent takedown here, and the arm around the neck by Charmaine Tweet, and trying to put that pressure on, but something that, again, Adrienne Seiber is going to have worked in this every day in the gym, as every other MMA fighter does, and she does pop out of it. It's just a position that needs to take some time off before making a triumphant return in 5 or 6 years when people will start getting caught in it again.
Made a brief resurgence there with the Cody team from Cody McKenzie of the Ultimate Fighter fame and in the UFC. But as you mentioned, Jimmy, not many people with that reverse grip, and as a result, the guillotine not as successful as it has been in the past. Adrienne Seiber still on top here at the end, or nearing the end of round number two, dropping a knee, and again they get stood up. Mark Aparicio looking for action and not getting what he's looking for. Stands him up for the third time in this round, Jeremy, and Charmaine Tweet's going to have to make some noise here at the end of round number one to get it a little bit closer, or round number two rather, to get it a little bit closer on the judges' scorecards, although a nice right hand coming from Adrienne Seiber.
Charmaine Tweet needs to be a lot more aggressive and needs to really push the action, because first 2 rounds have definitely gone to Adrienne Seiber, and I guess easy enough for us to stay on the outside, and the judges will see it how they see it. Charmaine Tweet takes our modest advice at cage side, and she's able to go, but a big swing coming out right away for Adrienne Seiber.
Yeah, Seiber over the head of Charmaine Tweet on that one.
Must be hard.
And again, coming at her, and you can see Seiber driving forward. Tweet doing a good job of getting back, but A to knee to the midsection. And so Seiber getting the better of that exchange. And again, it just looks like Charmaine Tweet hasn't found her range on the feet. And anytime she gets a little bit close, Seiber rushes in, closes the distance, and lands a punch of her own.
Well, if it secures you a takedown to eat a punch that glances off, that's worth it to Adrienne Seiber. So in and out, trying to find a time where she can attack on the shot, and we see it right there. A punch by Charmaine Tweet that was countered immediately by a shot, so the good timing there. And now Charmaine Tweet possibly having the back of Adrienne Seiber trying to land some punches. Now this is what she could do if she was on top, but you see now a body triangle, so she should stay with her. Now the back has Charmaine Tweet trying to get in and now looking for a switch as opposed to a rear naked choke. A little unorthodox at this point.
Yeah, at this point, she had the back, but Seiber looking to pop out and does now. And just the one arm was remaining in there, but she's got that out now. And Adrienne Seiber back on top in the half guard of Charmaine Tweet. Now Tweet landing strikes to the ribs, Jeremy, and those will certainly soften her up, but Seiber responding with some of her own to the rib cage of Charmaine Tweet. Both of these fighters really kind of giving it, and after being stood up so many times in round number 2, you can see that they're certainly not willing to have that happen here. Adrienne Seiber a lot busier here in round number 3 than she was in round 2 when she gets on top.
Well, and if Adrienne Seiber wants to be as successful as possible from the top, you're right, she does have to remain as busy as possible. I'm sure Charmaine Tweet would be happy with a stalemate and be able to stay up, but again, she's trying for that guillotine instead of trying to advance her position.
Now popping out of the guillotine, Adrienne Seiber, 2.5, just over 2:45 to go in round number 3 of 3 scheduled 5-minute rounds. And Adrienne Seiber on our scorecards has won the first 2. Continuing to strike from the top, and again, not wanting to get stood up, because if she gets stood up, Jeremy, I think that's Charmaine's best chance to win the fight, is on her feet. And so Adrienne Seiber's got to want to keep this on the ground and just avoid a submission here and secure herself a victory.
Well, and sticking with her game plan, this has been the same game plan in round 1 and round 2, which is take Charmaine down and then continue to land good, effective blows from the top. Charmaine is doing an excellent job of defending, limiting the damage, but every once in a while, one of those big punches does get through. And although, again, not necessarily doing a lot of damage to Charmaine Tweet because she looks pretty with it, but it is doing damage on the scorecard.
Adrienne Seiber still on top, still working here with just under 2 minutes to go. And really, Jeremy, it seems like so far Adrienne Seiber's done everything she wanted to do. She came in, she dominated the opponent, she got in tight, she got in close, she secured her takedowns, and has been effective from the top despite being stood up 3 times in the first round. She was still landing strikes, but not enough quality strikes for the referee, and you can see the strikes are getting through with a little more quality now, because Charmaine's going to have to try and take that chance of catching her on a punch and take that chance of catching her arm and maybe getting a submission, or maybe finding a triangle when she swings her arm back, timing it right, and maybe throwing the leg over and trying to find a triangle choke.
With just short time remaining, 1 minute remaining in round 3, that is something that Adrienne Seiber is just going to have to look to avoid if she wants to win this fight. Again, we both have her up on the judges' scorecards, our own scorecards on round 1 and round 2. So far, round 3 has been much more the same. Mark Aparicio is going to call them up, and you're going to look at Adrienne Seiber, going to really want to take this to the ground as fast as possible to take away Charmaine Tweet's striking ability and length.
Yeah, not sure if I necessarily agree with the call there from Mark Aparicio. It seemed like Seiber was doing enough to stay busy, and a nice right hand gets through, but then she gets a knee right into the midsection from Charmaine Tweet, but Seiber pressing her up against the boards, relentless in keeping Charmaine Tweet at a close distance and not allowing her to strike. And with just 15 seconds to go here, we are getting to the end of round number 3. Knees coming from Adrienne Seiber, who has done an excellent job at limiting the striking of a very dangerous opponent. And as we get to the end of the 3rd and final round, this fight is over. Adrienne Seiber, your likely winner. We'll go to the judges' scorecards here momentarily. But Adrienne Seiber, a very effective job here against Charmaine Tweet.